Cool. Perdition, episode 1 begins now. So, Darren, can you introduce your character, please?
Oh, sure. My character's name is Ariel. He is using the Wise class, and I think what I've decided to do is make this buddy one of these angels who works with time, where they like watch it and catalog it and maybe shift it where it needs to be or what it needs to do. But I think it's mostly like watching stuff. But then there's another part too where it's like working with time and how time relates to space. So there's kind of also this idea where it's like a kind of like a reality bending wizard. So I think that's some stuff. Do you want to just describe the groups?
Sure.
Okay. That's most of that stuff. What I'm calling an outsider is that whole like reality bendy space-time thingy, and I'm thinking it's like probably sort of aesthetic in some sense, and like just through this practice, these angels or whatever kind of exist outside of time, I guess is the goal. So it's just a little bit outside of everything. A little bit phased out. And then what are my other things? And then divine is divine. Time archivist just goes in the idea of like watching and recording and like going back and forth. So I think it's kind of like, I'm picturing it as expressing itself as like kind of seeing moments blur together, like things from the past on top of the present, on top of the future, all at once instead of linear. And that's it. I got some daggers and some empty scrolls in case I gotta write something.
Cool. So you're like the Heimdall of angels.
The what?
Heimdall? Like
Heimdall?
Heimdall, the
Oh,
guy on the
yeah,
Rainbow Bridge.
Yes. I kept hearing time. I was like, Heimdall? Time? But then I heard it. Heimdall.
Whatever you want to call yourself. Yeah. Cool. All right. Next up, Lauren.
Oh. Man, Darren, sorry, your character's like way more thought out than mine is. Sounds amazing. No, I suppose I will be playing an angel named Gabriel as a messenger angel. Like Ariel, they are wise and perform lots of miracles. I'm picturing like someone like this not very strong individual who just has a very powerful, commanding voice, who can speak with the voice of God and bind demons with said voice, and there's a lot of cool miracle stuff with their vocal ability, I suppose. This individual, I envision having spent a bit of time in hell, probably like got captured on their way to deliver some angelic message of sorts, and has since returned and can therefore has some knowledge of like hellish activity and hellish people and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to making up some fictional stuff about that. They're similarly divine, and I haven't come up with a third group, so that'll be fun to make up on the fly. Yeah, I don't know. I picture them they're gonna be very like tortured soul, angsty singer. So I've been picking a lot of Monster Hearts Wicked Div. So that'll be fun too. Anything else I need to say about this character?
No, that's fine.
Cool.
Cool. What about, I didn't actually ask you how to say your name. Is it Luis?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to go? Introduce our character?
All right. So Menakel, I don't know if I'm saying this right. He was part of a strike team that was created for an Ophanim. An Ophanim is just a weird-looking angel that's just a bunch of wheels on fire with eyes on them, and they're together and they have wings. I figured from the little I know of the Bible, he's a big guy in heaven. He watches a lot of stuff going on, and I figure he's kind of weird and in charge of information gathering. So he was part of this attack squad that was like, okay, the opponent is gonna spot something, and you go there and you fix it up. And but he wasn't really suited for the job. He wasn't as focused and as heartless as the opponent would like, because what he really likes is stepping in front of people and stopping them from getting hurt. He wished he was assigned as a guardian angel, but he didn't have any luck with that. And now he's on this team, hoping to put his skills to the test and not let any of his fellow angels get hurt in this mission. Looks wise, I honestly have no idea. I figure he has brown curly hair and wears a metal headband and just this really fancy full plate armor from heaven with a lot of gold etchings on it.
Cool.
All right. So Oriel is the Deft. At least that's the class name. His vocation is Goliard, which is a fancy name for a bard. Affiliation with the Hundred Ghost Monastery, so he decided to go to a monastery and just and just train there with assassins, because it's a monastic order of assassins. And he's an angel, because everyone in this group is an angel. It manifests with his charisma, so he tends to be charismatic, and he wears stunning studded leather pants, and he has a sword and loot and coin. I don't know what else to say.
What was the last thing?
His equipment.
Oh, okay. I just didn't hear that part. Cool.
The studded leather pants. I keep saying pants in parentheses because of jokes, but sword, loot, and coin.
Cool, cool. All right. So let's do a quick cat thing then to get everybody on the same page. So concept is y'all are a group of angels who are kind of I would say a distinctive choir that I have not rooted in any biblical sense or anything. Like it will be a specific its own thing going on. One thing I googled that sounds cool is you could be the Belattor, which just means warrior angels. And so that could be your choir instead of seraphim or whatever. The concept of this overall content is going to be y'all are going to be going on a mission because something is removed from heaven by a demon, and the state of the world is altered because of this, and you go and deal with that however you want. Probably gonna kill, whatever. The aim is to get through probably the equivalent of like 2 dungeons-ish, but I'm not going to be framing it as such. Like, it won't feel too dungeon crawly, although the first part is a little dungeony, but after that, wide open. I just really like the look of this particular thing that we'll be doing first is all. We're going to be using Perdition as a setting instead of as a system. Originally, I was going to use the system, but it's pretty crunchy, and part of what I think would be interesting about this in particular is exploring the divinity and what everybody thinks is an angel and having the fictional positioning around that. And in Perdition, that would be the equivalent of making like a race with a few different bonuses to your like attributes and some stuff like that, whereas Whitehack handles that a lot better. So we have switched to that, but are still using some sections of Perdition, i.e. wickedness, and some other stuff that will be coming up that I don't want to ruin in case people understand what Perdition is already, because that would be a giveaway. But Perdition is a book in which demons and devils have overridden a particular plane, so it will be like hellish. It won't be super pleasant, so the tone is going to be pretty dark. I think it's fine to have some light moments within there, but overall, if you look at what I put in the folder as inspiration, it's all pretty dark. So something steering to that would be good. A lot of like old school Renaissance paintings and like stuff like the fall of the rebel angels and stuff like that is what I am picturing in my head. If you've seen that newer movie, what's it called? Loving Vincent, I think, where it's the whole movie is Vincent van Gogh paintings that are animated. I'm thinking in my head that it's going to be like all those Renaissance paintings, but animated in my head. So it'll be fairly like dark and weird and stuff like that. But you guys can picture whatever you want in your head. That's just where I'm going with it. And safety tools is we'll have the X card on the table, especially. Oh, welcome back. We'll have the X card on the table, especially for hellish content. I don't know if we'll be going to really super weird and twisty dark stuff because that's not my bag. But if we get to a really strange part and it needs to be X carded, feel free to do so. I don't think this sort of Perdition / version of hell is going to be particularly focusing on corruption of innocence, specifically with like children and death like that, or torture towards children. But I think it's all going to be very like hack and slashy instead of weird stuff that you might find in other works regarding hell. Does anyone have any lines that they want to draw right now for content, though?
Usual sexual assault, like a veil for torture. Violence against children is one I always forget about, the good one. Those are my solid 3.
Cool. Anime Van Gogh, yeah. Good. Anybody else? Lines, veils, anything that they want to establish right away? No? Good. Okay. And then we always have the X card. So if we get to a specific part that is, upsetting people, then feel free to do an X or do an X on the chat, or just be like, I don't know, this is making me uncomfortable in the chat, and we'll revise what we need to. I think there will be some, most of the things of which I will be trying to convey a sense of dread will be through some sense of like not body horror, but violence against bodies, like an ongoing threat to your personage, which I think is in tone with all D&D like games. So bearing that in mind, I think we are ready to go then. Let's see. I'm using, as mentioned, the stats for wickedness, but I'll let you know when that comes up. But what you should know as players about it, without us kind of going into big detail with it later, when you do really bad stuff as an angel, you get corrupted. So if you slaughter an innocent, that might bring up your wickedness. If you ignore something that is ostensibly considered good, that could bring up your wickedness. Also, spending time in Perdition itself is said to drive up your wickedness, because simply being in this state is I think the book described it as you're complicit in the ongoing badness that is happening in Perdition simply by being there, and so it drives up your wickedness. And especially as angelic beings, you might be privy to more corruption, as this place tends to thrive and kill and take stuff from angelic and divine beings in general. So, any questions about that? Yeah, rough criticism of existence. Yeah, exactly. I think in the book it has you, like, after a certain amount of time, roll, and then if you roll above what your wickedness is at, then you increase it by 1. And it sort of has like a table of how the character might be altered by the wickedness going up, and it is basically increasing selfishness from, like, I don't care about the bad things that are happening around me, to, like, bad things don't matter anymore. It's like the varying kind of scale of badness happening. But is everybody cool with your choir called Belattor? Is that neat sounding? Yeah, your warriors. Darren doesn't care. Darren's just waiting for Destiny.
No, I was thinking, jeez, I was thinking my character is not a warrior, but
right. Well, it's just a general choir of angels. Like, not every seraphim has the same qualities.
Well, you're the expert here.
I wouldn't say that. I just read a couple books. That's all. Also, all of these books are all very different, so it wasn't entirely helpful. But I digress. I wasn't angsty about that at all. So, the bellies. I don't know what that is, but I think where we
Dave.
What? Oh my god. Okay. That's good. Yes, you're the bellies. All right, so I think how it starts out, though, is if this were like a TV or a movie, what happens is, I think your order is specifically used when, as sort of like not a stopgap. What's a good word for it? Like, you're like the last line of defense for heaven things happening, right? Like, when there is you're like the contingency plan. When really bad things happen that they don't see coming, y'all are the people that deal with it. And so I think when you're sort of like on duty, especially in heaven, like, time is relative, etc. I think your order specifically is sort of like at rest in a I don't want to say tome, or a tomb, not a tome. You're not a book, but you're in like a tomb like place. Like, it's a small, dark place in which you're sort of meant to go into hibernation until you are, like, ready to spring into action when something bad happens. And the idea is this chamber exists sort of like outside of time and space, so that when shit goes down in heaven, y'all are activated, you get sent down into another plane of existence, and you try to, like, deal with whatever has happened. So the beginning of the movie is like, you all are in your respective sleep states, right? Your hibernations, and you get deployed. And how that happens is, I think the ground just, like, drops out from under you, and everyone who's played with me knows what's coming next, right? The shot turns into, like, a wide shot of a dark cloud opening up with the angelic light pouring out, and y'all plummeting down from it, right? But before that happens, I'd like to know what you guys think your hibernating states are like in this chamber. What do you think it is that you look like as you wait?
I think I look like a. I want to say I look like a sheet of glass, but that feels very underwhelming.
It doesn't have to be like it's not like a test to see if you could come up with something like really bombastic or anything. So that's
yeah,
cool.
I'm a pile of glass.
Cool. Like, do you still resemble like a human being with wings and stuff like this in this glass case, or
I don't want wings, firstly.
okay, no
No,
wings.
I'm not in a glass case. I think I'm just glass. I think maybe it's like old glass, how it melts, and gets distorted. So maybe when I first go into sleep mode, I look like me, just like, yeah, I think I look like me. And then I slowly become like translucent, then transparent. And then it just like starts to like age. And then it just becomes like a sheet at that point because all the features have blurred.
So when you get deployed, is it like you shatter out of this glass, or is it like the same process, just like reversed?
Yeah, I like the shatter out of it.
Cool. That sounds sweet. What about, let's see, Lawrence, Gabriel?
This is scary. Darren and I are on scarily similar wavelengths in this game. Because I was similarly thinking, I totally see Gabriel as like being encased or cradled within like a lot of like prismatic crystal that kind of like reverberates off of itself in this very sort of like soft, quiet, like harmony of like that sort of like really high pitched like crystally sound that you associate with like prisms and stuff. Like refracting off of each other as well. So like you had lots of like sort of visions of Gabriel like with probably different states of emotion and stuff like in this glass. They're very like, I don't know, like sweet wafy sort of divine angel, and yeah, I think that's what it looks like. The prism is probably very like sort of rainbow colored, so, like lots of different like bits of light coming off of it from some source in this place.
Cool. Oh yeah, I should mention, especially for the benefit of anybody who might watch this, everybody has a group that is divine blood or divine. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody needs to look the same way. Just because you have divine blood in you means that you can still look like whatever you want. So the fact that Darren's character doesn't have wings doesn't mean that everybody doesn't have wings, etc., etc. It's probably self-explanatory, but worth stating.
Then this light source is my divinity, so it's all this light coming inside out of like this crystal prism.
Oh, cool. Okay, sounds good. And what about, is it Manakel?
You tell me. You're the guy who was studying the angels. So for Manakel's part, he's curled up in fetal position and floating in the air, kind of like in suspended animation, but he's surrounded by the pieces of his armor and his shield, and they form like this ball of metal around him. And it slowly orbits around him as he's sleeping. And when he's deployed, he just starts falling, and the metal splits apart and then starts like snapping into his skin as he's falling, to kind of like an anime transformation sequence, but it's very uncomfortable. Like you see him jerking up and down in the air as the metal keeps attaching itself to his skin. And he has a third eye on his forehead, but he has a metal band that snaps around his forehead to keep it closed.
Oh, what about Uriel? Who, I think if I recall my biblical studies, Uriel's like the captain of the Seraphim usually.
Usually, not in this case. Uriel falls from the sky like a glowing meteor, pretty much, and it's just a big rock that's a big spherical rock that just turns itself apart. And then it just reveals my shape as it gets closer to the ground.
Cool. I like that a lot. So you all fall literally from heaven. It's like a dark cloud. You can picture the camera like panning to each of you as you're doing your respective transformations. As you breach the cloud, you eventually hit like a very large, from a pando view, it looks like a basin of water, but it's like quite large. And as you crest up and out of it, what you see is it's just completely devoid of color. It's also not perdition. I think everybody, as part of the order, know where they would be falling to, and it's a limbo state. So this is like a holding pattern. Something's happened in heaven, time is like frozen, and now you get to like figure out what it is and then take measures. So if we had like got a camera up in heaven or something right now, everybody would be like frozen in action, right? Whereas you guys are in motion. It's like a different plane that you have entered now. And yeah, it's all, if it was like a movie, it'd be like black and white. There's no color anywhere. It's all very like, very basic bitch, right? Whoever made this plane is just like, you can walk on some stuff and that's it. Above you is the sky. That's about it. But as you climb out of the water, you see like a small form that's walking towards you. It's not, I would say it's like dim light as you survey your surroundings, and there's a path in front of you that's made up of like really small cobbled stones that are like gray, whereas the surrounding area is like dark earth basically. And somebody is like coming down it, at least as far as you can surmise, as there's like a little lantern that's like wiggling back and forth, and the only sort of like color in the area as they make their way towards you. And I have a picture of what I want this to be in the Perdition inspiration folder. Where is it? There's a little cool creature. What's the best way to show you guys? Maybe just share my screen. I'll do that. Oh, no, didn't do it.
Just paint us a word picture.
No, I want it so that people can see it on the video too. I'm sorry if it's annoying. Can you see that? This little dude here?
The Spider-Man?
No, that's not Spider-Man. What? It's this guy.
It is a man with spider features, a Spider-Man. That's what I meant. Not the Spider-Man.
Sure, yeah, I guess it's spidery looking type person, yeah. But they look exactly like that with the pipe and the multiple things, except they're all like billowed up in a cloak that is also gray, just like their skin and stuff like that. Stop. There we go. I did it. Okay. Everybody saw that, right? Cool. Okay. I've never done that before. Cool. And as you get close in angelic, they say, or whatever you guys want to call your divine language that you guys share. Do you want to call it angelic? You guys are the angels. It's up to you.
I think angelic is good.
Okay, so that's good. So in angelic, this person who's like very frail and, you know, again, cloaked up and all like frail and anemic kind of looking, right? They say, do you not recognize me? And you don't. And they say, yeah, there's awkward looks, right? And they say that my name used to be Raphael, but time here has gone through ages as I waited for you. And it's like all kind of like wizened and like cute old man speak, right? and very serious as well. And then they like turn, and the lantern that's on the other side starts dangling again, and they say, "Follow." Is everybody good with following? What's everybody thinking so far?
So we're not even in hell yet?
No. You know very well that this is just limbo. Is what they say.
Maybe if we follow him, we'll go to hell.
Yay! Mission accomplished.
I'm fine with following.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm keeping an eye on this guy.
What?
I'm keeping an eye on this guy. I'm sticking close to him.
Sounds good. I think you guys would have recognized Raphael, but obviously are radically different. Before they would have looked like a divine angel with wings and everything, dear. They had like the Renaissance painting look, right? Where they're sort of baby faced, brown hair, have the like bronze chest plate and the sort of, I don't know what it's called, but it looks kind of like a skirt, right? That they have, and yes, it does. And yeah, they obviously took a while to morph into this shape, right? And as you walk, they tell you more. They say that dwelling here has caused me to undergo a metamorphosis of sorts, and I warn you that going to Perdition, where you are headed, is going to have a similar effect, so you must make haste, or else you'll look like me. And he does like the old man chuckle, right? Spirit of yeah, the chat is funny. As they're talking, you're going up this like winding path, and I imagine it's very like fog of war, right? Like the sort of like draw distance keeps being extended just as Raphael walks. This plane is truly just like only creating what it needs to serve the purpose that it has. And shortly after, you get to like a huge, very gothic looking church, but instead of whatchamacallit, gargoyles out front, like perched out front, there's angelic figures instead of the gargoyles, but perched like gargoyles with their feet up. Like if you've ever seen The Prophecy, like that, how they always like stand on seats all weirdly and stuff like that. Anyway, I digress. They're crouching like gargoyles, right? And it's a huge cathedral-like church. And the unusual part of this plane is that it seems like the smoke is just coalescing all of these different parts as you're more like as Raphael is walking and you follow. And as the doors to the church are opened, I guess it might be a little tough for Raphael, so there's like a little grunt, right? Like, as the huge doors trying to open. It looks just like
I
you'd
definitely
expect. Sure, okay, but he doesn't grunt. Instead, it's like a thankful grunt, right? Like, and there's pews, but it has like, it's very like Tim Burton-y feeling, right? Where there's just the grays and dark palettes inside. There's still the cool pane glass that you see in lots of these kinds of churches, but again, there's like no color. And where you would normally see the altar, instead there's actually like, it looks like a small pool, and from it there's actually like a small bit of color from the water there. And Raphael goes to like behind this pool and makes like a sweeping, grandiose gesture because this is a movie. And he says that this is your entry into Perdition. You'll have to fall again. to get there. But bear in mind the wickedness that will corrupt you. And it's like very the old guy in Beware the Groove, right? When it's like beware the groove, like that. That's how he says it. You know, like his voice is shaking. Okay, Darren doesn't know. He says it in an old man shaking with like sort of terror for you, right? On behalf of you. He's scared. And so his voice is shaking and modulating in that way. Well, I mean, I'm all pop culture.
So, question: do we know our mission?
Yeah, he's about to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he says you'll have to fall again to perdition, and abstracting out the conversation. What has happened is another angel, which I'll have to make up the name of because technically it's Gabriel's horn, which is a divine item in some texts, which is known to bring about Armageddon on whatever plane you desire if you blow into it 6 times. And the blowing takes like an age, essentially. Like it takes a really long time. It's not just like a couple toots and it's Armageddon. And it's said to never have gone more than 4 billows or whatever, something like that. I was going to say blows, but that's not how they put it for sure. And so basically somebody had broken into heaven, slain this angel who is not Gabriel, taken their horn and fled. And what has become of it is like as they wave their hand over the pool, you see images of heaven. And your being outside of time allows you to view heaven as it like unfolds, as if you don't succeed, or if you were to just view heaven going forward from now with the horn gone, what will happen. And of course we get the like CGI effects of heaven turning into like a hellscape, and it's all very like kills 6 billion demons, where there's like there's instead it's like throne from kills 6 billion demons. Also, I totally had the idea for throne and the carcass of the divine and all this stuff, and then I read kill 6 billion demons like 2 days ago, and I was like, okay, it's that. Basically the exact same concept, except a lot more realized and thought out, because it's a really good book that everybody should read. But anyway, I digress. Essentially, hell is turned into a competition, or sorry, heaven is turned into a competition in which angels and demons fight. The angels lose. Armageddon is brought as the bellows are done, and essentially heaven becomes the rotting carcass of the divine, as all manner of life kind of permeates it. And there's like a big competition for heaven, all this kind of stuff. It's really bad stuff. Oh, Maria is gone again. But yeah, so essentially if you fail your mission, then Armageddon comes literally, right? That's what you need to do. So that's what you see as Raphael sort of does the motion over the pool. And is there anything that anybody wants to ask Raphael about stuff? PS? And the abstraction of this conveyance to you?
Do we know who took it?
We don't know who has taken it, but the horn leaves a residue that any angel can track. It is probably the only divine item that is in hell at the moment. There's like, this is unbelievable. No, it's not like a leaking. It's something that you can see. So as it makes way through space in Perdition, just as wickedness kind of leaves a trail that angels can see, you can see the angelic trace of its movements through Perdition. It's not like dripping water out of the horn or something like that. Yeah, a trace. Sure. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, water. Yeah.
I've already jumped down the hole.
Okay. Well, okay, so you're falling, and then Raphael is like, the first thing that you should do is find a cache of divine weaponry at what is it called? The place known as the Trickle. You'll know it when you see it. It's where you'll drop it. I know it's a silly name, okay, but it's for a reason.
The trickle, as in more leaking.
Yes, sure. As in you're leaking. The place is called the Trickle, though. It's in its like bowels and recesses is where you'll find divine weaponry that will be effective against the hellish creatures in Perdition.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna thank Raphael for his service and jump in, honestly.
Okay, cool. Everyone's piecing it. That's good. Cool. Okay, so what it feels like to travel essentially is similar to when you fell from heaven literally into that pool, except that it's like falling into water, and then as you crest open, you're just in this new place. So you fall into the water, and then as you rise up, you're in this different hellscape, right? And let's take a 5-minute break. It's at the hour. Sound good? So let's come back at 23. Is that good? Cool.
Are we going until 8? I mean, 11 or 11:30?
Okay, we're waiting on Lauren.
Can you hear me? Are we going until 11 or 11:30? Or at the hour or 30 after the hour?
At the hour. So we have
Okay.
like 38 minutes left.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
No worries. Okay. So cool. Yes, almost like a baptism, Taryn. That made me giggle.
That's the only biblical thing I got so far. Gotta get them in where I can.
Yep, you're getting baptized right into perdition. It's gonna be great. Cool. Okay, so when you crest the water, you are at a sort of like rocky crag area with a meandering sort of stream. It's not like it's not forceful in nature. It's not like you're going to careen off of it, but in front of you is like a waterfall that will go down. And your Christ. Oh god. Okay.
Eucharist.
Yeah. And beside the water that you've just crested, you see a figure on essentially what looks like a horse with a large mane of black hair, but it is completely all skeletal, and has like where its flesh would be covering its ribs and stuff, it looks more like fungus essentially. And on top, similarly, there is like a female form on top that would be a rider, and they look similarly like desiccated with their face is like completely shrouded in black hair that is like billowing in the wind. And as you look out, Perdition, like past this crest of the waterfall, you can see different like buildings and outcroppings and stuff like that. And around all of these buildings, there is a sort of like a wind is blowing past them, and it's all tonally in like a color palette of like reds and everything is like very it I don't want to give the impression that it'd be like Renaissance paintings of hell where it's very like dysmorphic and hellish, in that it's usually like body horror, but it's more like everything has been like used up and consumed, similarly to the person that you've seen beside you and the horse, but is still functioning. So the buildings are like similarly desiccated with this like fiery wind and stuff quality around it going. But as the figure that stands above you on the horse addresses you, looking down if you are in the water still or getting out of it, they say, "You should not have come here, divine freaks."
Oh no, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
I'll pick that up. Just a second. Oh, I'm so ready for this. So Manukau stands up and he's just like, "Who are you calling?" She called us freaks. Was that it?
Yeah, freaks. Yeah.
Who are you calling freak? You foul abomination.
I think they start cackling in like a mad witch type of way, right? And the hair is still like obscuring their face. It's very like dark raven, thin strands, but like enough that it would cover their face as the wind's blowing in like that specific direction. And the horse's mouth opens up just a little bit, and fire starts to like generate within the bowels of it. So what do people want to do?
I'm putting my shield up.
Okay.
I like to think that Ariel is always either a little bit ahead or a little bit behind spatially. So
Okay.
I'm walking towards the cache we're supposed to open.
No.
I've been walking towards the cache.
Wait, you don't see anything except the like stream and the person on the banks and like this hellish scape and stuff like that. There's like a chest behind her or anything like that.
And I'm still falling.
You're falling.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
So
I'm just waiting to move the plot on.
So what happened was everybody jumped into that circle of water, right? And then they came up in this stream, in this like hellish scape, and you saw all the stuff that I described. And then if you're in the water and you look to the side of the water, like where the shore is, you see this figure who called you a freak and has a fiery horse of doom and death.
How tall is Medical? Are they like a quite a intimidating, like strong type?
Yeah, he was made for battle. He's big.
Then Gabrielle is for sure gonna take charge with you, but I think Gabrielle is probably like 5'5", like sort of very kind, like quite lithe. So it's probably like kind of peeping out from behind you at this woman, sort of taking defense behind your impressive stature.
Awesome.
Uriel is going to take out his note and start calming her the fuck down.
Okay.
The horse.
Is it? We go into the best song of the world moment.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the loot is my active slot, so I don't know what that means.
So you get to roll double positive if what you're doing makes like you can perform difficult tasks normally, but since this is not just difficult, especially with the loot, I think you'd still need to roll, but you have a double positive roll, which means you roll 2 20s and you try to get below the stat that you're rolling with, which
I'm also a bard, so
yeah,
does that help?
You still get the double positive effect, yeah. But so is this like, it sounds like a charisma thing that you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you roll 2 20s, try to get below the stat, or I guess ideally hit the stat exactly for a crit. And if you roll,
That's a 1 and a 15.
Is the 15
charisma is 12?
A 12? Okay, so you get 1 pass and 1 fail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So the way it works for y'all, just so you know, is that even 1 is still a success, but if you had gotten 2 rolls under it, then it's just like a better success, essentially. It's like a graded way of telling. And similarly, if you rolled 2 over and failed to double, then that's even like worse of a fail than just a normal one. So yeah. Cool. Okay, so you were trying to essentially just settle the horse.
Yeah, calm the horse down, I guess.
Okay, so what does it sound like? Describe this to me as it works. Apparently, so the fire goes down, right?
Yeah, I think it's part because bards or goliards get access to, or not get access to, but like they know how to calm people down by singing and playing music. And also, I'm divinely charismatic, so it works as well.
Right.
So that works as well. I mean.
Okay. Cool. So the fire extinguishes, and she says, "For where you are," and it sounds really like whispery. It's like when people try to talk and some of their teeth are missing, like it's kind of like tonally off, something like that. And she says, where you are the freaks, and you are in a dangerous place. And here, when angels show up, we shackle and bound them and sell them. So you are worth it a great deal to me. You should just give up now.
I think Gabrielle tries to hide more behind Medical when she says that.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So for let's see. For Ariel, do you imagine Ariel, since you said they're always like out of time, is there something like visually on camera that people see that they're aware of that or not? Like, is there some visual effect to this or what?
Yeah, I mean, they're in like robes, very flowy robes, and there's something like billowy about them, as if as they're moving through more space and like physics, the physics engine of real life, than it appears to be. But also, I think it's like typical. Like sometimes they take a step and they appear like more feet away than they should, or things like that.
Okay.
Simple stuff.
Cool. So, to be upfront, her intention is to bind you and probably sell you as property. That's
She was pretty clear on that point.
Yeah. So, if people want to do something, they still can, but her intention is probably to still escalate this in such a way as to bind you.
Yeah, I don't like her attitude at all. I'm gonna escalate this. If someone wants to step in and try dialogue, now's the sign. Otherwise, I'm just gonna jam a spear in her face. Or
You're allowed to, yeah, I allow you to jam a spear in her face. I just don't want the horse to be active as well.
Yeah,
and I don't want to be on fire.
Yeah, the horse is powered down. You have that success, so it's not about to do whatever it was gonna do. But do people want to move to initiative then?
Yep.
There'll be a physical confrontation. So how you do this in this game is you roll 1d6 and you add your dex modifier. So if you have a 13, then you get a +1. If you have a 16, then you get a +2.
6.
Am I rolling a 1d6?
Yes.
I got a 6 as well.
Need to open a notepad.
I'm just stealing somebody's dice. 6. I got an 8 with my +2.
Oh, that's pretty good. I'm just going to use the Google Hangouts. Oh, did I get... Dang, I still need to remember Gabriel's ones.
I was rolling a d6, right?
Yeah, d6.
I got a 1.
Got a 1? Oh, that's pretty bad. Okay. It's not... There's no, like, critical fumble for this particular roll anyway, so could be worse. Gabriel 1. Okay, so Darren, you get to act first. Or, sorry, your Ariel gets to act first.
So the only
like to do?
The only like magic shit I can do are my predefined miracles.
Yes. Within that definition, though, you could kind of make a go of whatever. Like, the system's pretty open to you using your fictional positioning in whichever way you think. So you could even be like, I don't know, part of being divine is like, well, for one, your divinity could be used to help you figure out what this is. It could be used as getting like, you could even say maybe this creature has a weakness to divine people, right? And that gives you like a bonus on your rolls. It just depends on what you want to go for. Then you just align your fictional positioning with that to try to get the most out of the roll.
Okay. I think that I wanna. I don't know. What if I just made the water solid? Then we can just have like a solid ground to stand on, so we're not like half in the water or splashed around like fools.
Sure, that sounds good. Are you doing that as people are in the water?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna like lift them up, right?
Okay, I was just like, wouldn't that just be like, and they're stuck? Like, sure, you could do that.
We'll solidify it from the bottom up so people raise up.
Okay, and is that one of your miracles or what?
No.
Oh, okay. Is this like something angels could just do or what?
Sure. I guess that's a divine thing, right? I can like fuck with basic elements.
Okay, that's a powerful thing.
Well, I don't know. I will just stand there in a safe spot and let everyone else take care of it then.
Okay, well, if you hold your action, you can act whenever you want after, because you have the highest initiative. So if you want, someone else can act, and then you can springboard off of that. Or
Okay.
also, alternatively, you can hold your entire turn and increase your initiative priority first. So it seems maybe don't do that.
I guess I'll just hold my action.
Okay, so next is the highest dex out of Uriel and Manako.
Alright, so how do I stab someone?
How do you
Oh wait,
stab?
I'm already playing the loot, so I'll hold my action to see what Manacle does first.
Okay. Yeah. So Manako, are you gonna hurt somebody? Good.
Let me see. Yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna charge ahead. I'm sorry, Gabriel, you're gonna lose your cover. But if push comes to shove, I can use protect. Or maybe I should just stand still and protect everyone.
Well, I don't think it's against the rules to tell you initiative. They will act right before Gabriel.
Okay.
They got a 3 on their initiative. So.
Okay. So my slot says that I can forsake all actions to protect an adjacent character, but do I have to pick the character beforehand? And also, does that apply to all characters that act while I'm doing this and are close to me?
Let's see. Let me read that. Wise. Oh yeah, so essentially whatever attack they would make would have to be directed at you, is what your action would be. But I mean, you can act first now anyway. I think it would be better to use that if you were at the tail end of initiative after they had gone, perhaps. But it just depends on, like, I don't know. Basically, you can force the person to make the attack only against you. But if you situated yourself in the fiction by moving up to them, probably that would happen anyway, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's time to do the old morning star to the face.
The good old morning star. Cool.
So, how do I do this?
So, what
roll under strength?
Yeah. So, or not strength. Your attack value is what you're aiming for, and you'll be doing a double positive roll because this is in your wheelhouse.
Okay. Let me just double positive. I got a 19 and a 3. We're good.
Cool. So you struck, and then you deal the weapon's damage.
Okay, let me see how much I got. A 1, obviously.
You get a 1?
Yeah, so it's just a grazing hit, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think I just say like, let me get an angel voice on. Let's say like, you will pay for what you have done to my kind, you evil thing. And I just smack her with the Morning Star.
Cool. Yeah, and I think what happens is, you get your shot in, and you said you were aiming for the skull, right?
I didn't, but that's fine.
Oh, okay.
That's perfect. I
You
said
can
the
hit-
face. I think you can say the skull.
Sure. Well, the face too. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, it's all up in there.
Yeah. Well, basically, what happens though is it proves to be less effective simply because she is like made out of this skeletal structure, sort of like a skeleton. It's hard to gauge damage on them, right? Because they're just like, oh no, I lost my bits. So yeah, cool.
All right.
Okay, so then does Uriel or either Ariel want to go, having held the turn?
Alright. I wanna put the loot back while Manako is doing that. Grab the sword and then stab someone in the face.
Like the horse, or
No, the woman.
okay.
I'll jump at the woman and stab her in the face if I have to.
Cool. And with a sword, you said?
Yeah, I have a sword.
Cool. So yes, a similar thing. You just roll with a attack value, unless you're doing something other.
1d6.
What's your? Oh, you're a bard, right? Yeah. So yeah, 1d6.
My deft, and I rolled exactly the attack value.
Exactly the attack value?
Yeah, I rolled a 10, which is exactly my attack value. What happens?
Cool. So it's a crit, so you double the damage.
Nice. It's a total of 6.
6.
Because it's 3 times 6.
Yes. That's a good hit. Cool. And you also are going for the face? So I guess
Yes.
you're whittling down
I did
her face.
say that. I did say her face.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Maybe do you cut off like half of her face or something? Like,
yes, that seems fine.
Just like crunches.
I cut off half of her face and then the hair just starts flowing from the other way.
I love it. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, everyone's just like whittling down her face. She's like, "You found my weak spot." Okay, so Ariel, do you want to act now or continue holding your action?
Guess I'll hold. I don't know what to do.
Okay. Okay, so Gabriel.
I feel your pain. You're like, oh, I want to do a thing, but also I take away HP points when I do things. I like, am I better off holding on to my HP to cast spells and stuff in this kind of game? Like, do I need to be strategic about it? Or can I just be like, cool, shit happens, and then
like in terms of how valuable your HP is, you heal 1 HP overnight and then another in the, so like when you make camp you get an HP, when you wake up you get another HP, and if you make a saving throw I think you double it, like 2 each time, and then there's still like, you know, potions and all that kind of jazz that you can get as well. So I guess it really depends on how much HP you have.
Because I have 5, is it?
5's good, right? Like, that's pretty good, yeah.
I thought you said you had 2.
2 is Darren, I think. Ariel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's both Darren and I, actually. So I also have 2 HP.
There you go. You're the 2 club.
Because I mean, it totally makes sense to me if I know of her kind as ones who go around and capture angels, because I've definitely had a run-in with this kind of person, and I definitely had to like kill one of them to escape captivity. So I think, yeah, I feel like I would like to sort of like channel divinity to try and dispel like the hellish magic that's keeping her skeletal form together, kind of thing.
Ooh, cool. So it should just be like a pile of bones.
Yeah, when I rattle her bones.
Cool.
Sorry, that sounded really. That sounded dirty. I'm sorry.
No,
Wait,
that's good.
doesn't the skeletal lady go first though?
Don't combine freeze.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll hold that thought then.
Yeah, she goes first unless Ariel goes. So Ariel is biding their time.
Can I like interrupt them doing something?
Oh sure.
That's
So
about the only thing I can think of.
well, that's cool. Sure. Okay. Well, so I think she definitely would be going for Uriel, who did half face damage action. And
You mean double, right?
yeah, so I think what happens is the wind sort of like screams as her face, like half her face like gets cut off and explodes into the wind, I guess, right? And she reaches to her side and takes out a sword and raises it and, goes down to swipe at Uriel, who's hacking faces off. So how would you like to interrupt?
I would like to use my little bend moment miracle.
Okay.
And basically just like push time a little bit so the sword swipes just out of the way. And basically like, but just, I guess just ensure that Uriel dodges it.
Okay, cool. So this is a miracle that you're performing, right?
Yes.
And it's pretty low stakes. It's just make her miss, right? It's not anything too fancy.
I hope it's low stakes.
Yeah. No, she's not like a high level creature or anything like that. So let's look at your. So I believe what you need to do is do your. I think what you do is. We'll say that's a no HP thing, and I make a saving throw for them, I think is how I'll handle that. Where my creature stats at? Saving throw. Yeah, so she gets fucked up. What happens?
I mean, I think she just slashes down with confidence, but then somehow inexplicably Uriel isn't there.
Is it like a time stop thing, like from the perspective of the viewer? Like the hand goes down, it stops, but like the head of Uriel continues on, and then it just like restarts again. Or something?
I think it's like a double exposure. So you see both events happen, but then the one that resolves afterwards is the one where Uriel dodges. Or the person misses, however you want to frame it.
Cool. Either way, no head slicing action. Cool. Yeah.
Thanks, Ariel.
You're welcome, Uriel.
Angel high five. Okay, and then after that, you want to completely take her apart with your spell, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So she's down to less than half HP, so I will say it's a 1 HP ask of you in order to do this.
Okay.
And let me see what you're. Are you doing this with? Yeah, it's your devil touched, is it right?
Yeah, I guess that sounds like it's where it's coming from anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to get the benefit of your group on it, right?
Yeah.
So double positive roll, trying to roll under 11.
Okay. And I'm rolling 2d20s.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you want to get under 11 or match it, I
Oh,
guess.
God. Okay. I got a 9 and a 12.
Yeah, so you did it. You just didn't get
Okay.
like a huge success or whatever, right? So she just dies real good. Okay. So yeah, what does it look like to do that? What do we see on screen?
Yeah, well, we fully get that shot of like, of Menekel like stabbing this lady, and then we have like Uriel going in and like with her weapon, and like this skeleton lady's like face like cracks off, and then she goes for like a swipe, but then she like misses, and so like goes over, and then like I think what we hear is like Gabriel's is like very like saccharine, sweet, like choir boy voice. It doesn't like really belong in the body of a man like him. And it just like sort of like lilts over the top of this like battle and like dominates the sound of like iron on iron kind of thing, and it's like hellish landscape. And I think like we see this divine light wrap around her in like this angelic like feathery hug. and her bones like start to shatter and like tremble or like against like trying to break out with like this very like gripping binding hug that like Gabriel's put on her. And then like it's if she's dead it just like stops and the bones
she's
bones,
dead because
like,
it works.
yeah, it's a pile of bones like on the horse, and they clatter off of the horse like onto the ground and stuff around it.
Right. And as she dies, so does the horse. It like becomes undone like a marionette with no strings, right? And it just piles down. But as she's dying, she says, my master awaits with like a cackling, right? Like trying to be as menacing as fuck as she gets pulverized, I guess.
Gabriel just like blows the remaining feather on the breeze.
Oh snap. Saucy. Okay. Nice. All right. Okay, and then we have 5 minutes to closing, so that'll be that. One thing I'm going to do with this game, though, is do milestone improvements, so everybody can level up to level 2, and we'll essentially be leveling up every single episode. So,
What does leveling up do?
if you look at your chart, your def, you'll get an extra hit die. Which means, by the way, so Taryn, you'll have more hit points ostensibly, depending on how you roll.
And me, hopefully.
You can't start with less HP. So if you roll lower than what you had before, you can keep what you had previously. Your AV goes up. Your strength goes, or saving throw, not your strength, goes up, and that's about it.
What's a raise?
A raise is, in this game, there's a specific kind of scene where it's called an auction, and people gamble their raises, essentially, on what you're doing. So if you're... it depends on like how we abstract a task, but if you're all... commonly would be like, if you're all raiding a tomb and somebody wants the really good item, then you would all make a bid for the item, and it's all handled by the role, and sometimes handled in the fiction as well. Like you could describe yourselves actually like tossing somebody aside or something like that as you make your bid to try to get to it first, and somebody else tripping somebody else as they try to get to it first, that kind of stuff. It's you can abstract anything with the auction, essentially. You can even do it for killing like lots of minions, they said too. Like if you're angels against like a horde of little undead or something like that. As the referee, I could bid like whoever fails this bid takes 3 HP, but no matter what, these minions are gonna die. It's just who gets hurt and who doesn't, basically. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting things about it. So yeah, what?
I was gonna ask, do I re-roll my hit die entirely?
Yes. So now you'll have 2, and so you roll 2 and see what you get. Right. Let's see your wise. Where that wise at? So level 2. Yeah, it's just 2 hit dice.
Yeah.
And that'll be your new HP. And then if it's lower than what you had before, you can keep what you had before.
It's not possible for it to be lower.
Yeah. And so you're better at attacking and saving throws and all that kind of stuff as well. So everybody do that. Otherwise, that's it, I think. So we just get the closing shot of her menacing tone, and then also kind of getting shit on with a feather. She's trying to be menacing, and I think to the side, further where she was sort of guarding, the camera zooms in to the ground there, and there's like a dark pit that is not illuminated, and the camera zooms down there, and it travels like a whole way across this sort of like little dungeon looking area to a statue of a huge, like a ginormous statue of an angel that looks like it has 2 spears driven into its chest with its mouth agape, and something's in the mouth, and then it, the series ends.
I didn't know they were playing Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah. Nice. I like how you have your own references, but when I start dropping pop culture, everyone's like, what? So I'm gonna stop the broadcast on that note.